Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Tracy Clark. I'm the AEW California on the communications team, and we're meeting for the second time as our tech peer group. I'm very happy to see that you guys are all engaged and wanting to learn more. There's always more to learn. Right when we think we know it all, something else new comes up. That's the tech world, right? So I also want to thank you for being here. Short notice, we had to change the topic. We're changing from site resources to going through the website, the AEW California website. We will have the site resources presentation, if you will, next month. I'll confirm our speaker is able to, or presenter is able to do that then, and make sure that we get that done next month. And then we can also do it again or have additional session if we need to. And same with any of our sessions. Apologize, I have a little bit of a cold, so hopefully I won't start coughing and all that good stuff. One thing I'd like you to do, if you haven't already done so, is in the chat, put your name and your branch, and it'll get saved off when I close down the Zoom. So I know who you are and where you're from, and we can keep track of that. Okay. A little other housekeeping. I know what we're gonna talk about next month, but I'm always looking for more ideas. If you have ideas, put them in the chat or bring them up when we have an open session at the end of this discussion. And I'm more than happy to jot that down. And if you're willing to even present it, that's even better. Or I'll actually, if we run out of ideas, I'll be asking around to say, okay, who can talk about what? Because I know we can probably revisit the topic of Google again, because we focus a lot on Sheets, and I've heard that we need to focus a little bit on Google Docs, which is a little bit same, a little bit different. So we'll be touching on that again as well. So just so you're aware of that, and anything else you can think of that you'd like to hear more about, definitely put that in the chat. It's the easiest way to get it across to me. So, okay, I'm going to, no questions. I'm gonna share my screen.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Rosemary.
Yes, I have a terrible cold. Is Camp Doc part of Google Docs?
No, Camp Doc is a vendor, a software application that we're contracting, or we purchased. I don't know if we purchased or how it's arranged or what our affiliation is, but it's a software tool that they're going to be using, which is probably what you've heard. They're using that for TechTrack. Yeah. So it's a separate package, just like it's not part of the Google Doc, Google umbrella. It's something different. Okay. Totally different. So
thank you.
Sure, no problem. Any other questions? Okay, so tonight what I'm going to talk about is the AEW California website, and where you can find things on it, because that's always been a struggle on occasion. We've tried very hard in the communications team over the past years to try to make it easier. But what I need from you guys, perhaps as I'm going through this, is some feedback, or maybe when I'm done, feedback on what could make it easier for you or what you're struggling to find. I'm going to go over where the basic stuff is that you would probably be interested in finding, so you can do some learning on your own, or find some of the documentation on your own. And do feel free to interrupt me and ask a question. My screen will be full. I don't have two screens going, so definitely speak up because I won't be able to see your hand. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. I'll just share everything. Okay, so everybody see my screen. It's the AEW California website. If someone can let me know.
Yes.
It's okay. Great, thank you. Okay, as you can see, is any of it blocked for you? Because I know I have the bars and stuff as part of Zoom, the share bar and also the video portion. Are you able?
It looks fine.
Good.
We can see all of it.
Perfect. All right, good. Okay, as you can tell, when we talk about our website, actually the URL is aew-ca.org, if you're not familiar with that. And you're able to go out there and check it out and browse around anytime. And feel free to do so, because there's a lot of there's a lot of information out here. Now, we have it separated. It's been this way for a long time. It's separated into internal, what we call internal menu items, which are in the smaller menu bar at the top. And then external is the bigger font and bigger point size. The internal is intended to be for branch use, AEW member use, but mostly branch use, AEW California committee use. It's more specific in nature to how to get to do AEW functions, and all the forms and processes, what other programs we have. And it's more like, for example, under programs and projects, when you look at Speech Trek or Tech Trek or whatever, let's say Tech Trek, it'll be different, a little bit different content than you'll see over under projects for the mainstream population, which is what I'm calling non-AEW people. And you can look at both, and some of it overlaps, but the intention is that when you point somebody to this website, if they're asking about Tech Trek, for example, they're a parent or whatever, I would point them to say this website, but then point them to projects and Tech Trek, because it's really more related to what they need to know about. So it's more, not all the technical details that they don't care about. It's more about Tech Trek and so forth. So I'm going to go into detail on some of these in a second, but when you're, advising someone to check it out, to go to the website and look us over, you might most likely you probably want them to go to one of these menu items. I'm going to start at the top though, and we have what's called California Business, Branch Tools, Fund, which you probably won't do much with here. Programs and projects we'll do a little bit. News, calendar, which is handy, a directory, webinars, which we're going to go through a bit here, COVID reminder, and basic help. We also have a search button. Now that's come in very handy, and I've done some searches today just to prepare for this, and it's pretty robust, and it'll kind of get you kind of to the page that you're looking for, so that sometimes search buttons aren't so great. It all depends on what tagging you do when you post your article, or you post you create your page. If you don't have the right tags, then people may not be able to search for it. So I think we've done a lot of work in trying to make the tags useful and make the search button a better results. Okay, so another thing I want to mention here is this is the main page. It has our mission, the California mission, and the overall national mission. You can also search what we call categories, or you can search the website down here. You don't have to use that button up above. So there's a number of things that are top of mind, more recent things, if you scroll down. So you don't have to use the menu items entirely. There's also the calendar of events. This calendar of events just briefly tells you all about, like, this is a webinar that's being presented by AEW California, somebody outside of AEW California. This is our leadership team quarterly meeting that we're going to have weekend coming up. And some branches will also put things out here and request that some of their things come out here. Board to board submission is for our board members who need to submit their articles for that publication you get once a month, and so on. So don't discount that calendar. It's kept up to date all the time. And if you want to put something out there for your branch, or that you want to get visibility for the rest of California, then definitely send us anything you want to do with the website, or any question you have. You want to send it to, let me get this right, web team. So altogether, web team at auw-ca.org. So that'll go right into our tracking system, and we'll respond to you within, I think it's 24 to 48 hours, depending. And that's where you want to send, even if you have a question on where something is, or if you want to request something to the calendar, anything like that. And if you want to change something on the website, and you want to suggest, go right ahead, send something in, and it'll go to the right people. Okay, enough of that. The one thing I want to start with here, I think the most obvious thing, if we're trying to get information on our own, let's say we're not at a, we don't know anything about social media and we want to learn more, or we're in our branch, and since we're the tech person, they want us to start Instagram account or whatever. Well, if you want to come here first, there's quite a bit of information about Instagram or starting a new account. There's a step-by-step webinar. Now there's webinars, but there's also information over here. It's right under here called Tech Tools, which you'll find a lot of information there. But I'm going to start with webinars. These are the ones that we've started doing back when COVID happened. So back in 2020, 2021, as a way to keep our connection with the branches and to still be able to provide information. So if you clicked on the old webinar pages, this is 2020, 2021, the recordings are still out there. So if you want to know more about financial management for branches, you can go here, click on this, and here you go, reference document. You can download the presentation. So you can watch it and you can download the questions and answers, because with this type of webinar, there's a lot of specific, calculation type questions and answers that are better suited in a document to be able to read them that way. So each of those webinars that are listed for both 2021, 2020, 2021, 2021, 2022, and the current year are all out there for you to look at. So if you wanted to look, and usually the pool of people that are normally giving, we started with, were our board of directors. So what you'll see is the different categories are finance related, which is our CFO, public policy. Kathy Harper is our director for public policy, and so on. So they aren't exclusively that, but for the most part. So if you think I'm going to look for something regarding social media, I would look down here and see if there's anything. First thing I do is do a search, but go and look and see if there's anything here. If there isn't, specifically what you're looking for, go to the next year and see. So there's a lot of webinars. There's 25 in that year. And let's see, I'm at, last year. And there's Beach Trek, fund events. As you know by now, all the fund events have been done online, virtually, for the last couple of years, and they did it again this year, virtually. So,
Tracy, I raised my
Yes, ma'am.
hand, and this is appropriate. I went to the fund webinars, and I could not find, and they're supposed to be that you can open up the PowerPoint just to see
Okay.
the slide presentation. I looked, could not manage to find that. It would have saved me a lot of time.
Okay, which fund event were you looking at? Was it this year, last year, or when?
Yes. All
This year.
this year's, right.
Okay, let me go check that, because that could be an error. We all make mistakes. So I want to go and check it right now. And by the way, everything's kind of in reverse. So this is the latest one that's, March is the last one we currently have, the latest one in the year. And it goes down to January 25th and the 10th and so on. So I'm going to go down to October. These were all the fund events that we had. I'll click on that, the title. And you're correct, it hasn't, well, wait, here it is, download. Here's the presentation.
Right, I got all the presentations, but couldn't get one PowerPoint to work.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, let me put it on my list and I will look into that. So the 2022 AEW fund. The PowerPoint itself didn't work for you. Okay, so none of them did. I got that right?
At least for me, maybe you could get it
Okay.
to work, but I couldn't.
Okay, well, I'll check that out. I won't do that here and slow us down, but I'll check that out and I'll get back to you, okay? Okay, so again, the webinars are there. As you've seen, there our presentations, the presentation itself, which is in PowerPoint. And then there's also supporting materials. If they had like what would normally be a handout if you were in person, but they decided, you know, or we upload that, or if it's a document that's a reference document, we'll upload that as well to try to make it complete. Upcoming webinars are always a good thing to go check it out and see if there is something coming up that you have maybe missed on the, you know, we try to send out emails and so forth, but we all know our inboxes are very full. So you can always go here and find out more. And this is where you actually register. If you've done that in the past, most of you probably have. And then the old ones are following. So that's one way to get information. One way I think that maybe people are not aware of, maybe you are aware of, that has a lot of information and would probably be most used by people on this call is in Tech Tools. It's under California Business, and you scroll down to Tech Tools. And so this is one regarding Instagram. And again, it's, I think, in reverse order, if I'm not mistaken. Google Tools and more. So here's some more information about Google. And you can go here and it talks about the applications that it goes over and what that application is used for, the pros of it. And here's, that's a link to Google Forms. It talks a bit about each one. And then I think, yeah, this has other. So as you see, there's a lot of different things. It's not just Google. This is more. So there's a lot of tools that we have used that we wanted to share. These don't necessarily have presentations associated with them. If they did, then they would have a link here. But this is just in general what it is. And this is a general, this is what Google, what the Google, what do they call it now? I think we went over that last time. Suite. It's not a suite, but that's what I've always called it. Grouping. I can't remember the name. But then it goes into detail on Google Forms, and the link will take you to Google Form. We'll launch the application. And this talks about how it's anything done with the paper form, like if you want to make a list, it's like equivalent to Excel. And it doesn't cost you anything, Google Drive, etc. But then it goes into other things like Zoom, which we're all using right now. And what's free, what costs, and so on. Dropbox is a way to share files. SurveyMonkey, which I'm thinking that might be a possibility of something that we would have one of our sessions on, different ways of surveying. And Doodle, that's a really fun one. Sandy Gabe has done a lot of Doodle, or a couple Doodle presentations in our annual meetings. If you've ever seen those, they're kind of cute. And an easy way to disseminate information, or a fun way to disseminate information. Actually, no, Doodle is the one where it's scheduling. So a good way to create a meeting. I'm thinking of a different application. Doodle is a good way to create a meeting, or just to determine when to schedule meetings. So you can put out a bunch of, send a link out, and then you can have a bunch of options for people to mark their name and say, okay, this date and time works, this doesn't, this does, this doesn't. And so it'll consolidate everything for the person launching the Doodle and be able to come up with a good meeting time, for example. Then there's all social media. Creating social media accounts. So it tells you how to do that. These are the different accounts, types, and so on. YouTube. PhoneBite is an older application. So that was just under Google, Google Tools and more. If we went back, this is a webinar on, it's called Instant Noodles. Nope, it's Instagram. That was just a cutesy little title. I'm going to sneeze here now. Excuse me. Wow. Okay, and so this webinar is really good about Instagram. It tells you how to start up Instagram, a new account, what the different acronyms are, and it's done really well. I actually hosted this one and I learned quite a bit about Instagram. I didn't know. Here, if you're having trouble with Zoom, if you don't really know anything about Zoom, start with basic. There's advanced, online video conferencing, event scheduling tools. So this is talking about calendars and so forth. And here's social media integration. I think this is a really good one to look at. And there's, I don't know why it's being that way, but you can download a presentation. So if you're confused about which platform would be the best to use. So there is a presentation. So I'm not sure if that's a presentation that doesn't look like a webinar. It looks like you could download a PowerPoint on that one. So anyway, I just wanted to point this menu item out because there's a lot of things out here. So when we are doing our discussions, we might want to start here and go, okay, does it already exist? Maybe it's outdated a little bit and we need to know that in the web team to say, okay, we need to update that particular thing. There's more to it now than there was back when we established the documentation or did the webinar. It's good to know that. Or maybe I don't need to have another presentation about Facebook. I've said it's already out here, for example, and it could be a starting point before we have our peer group session to talk about a specific function. MailChimp, there's a demo. So I really wanted you guys to know about this. I'm not sure how many people knew that this was here. And it has a lot of information. We constantly get a lot of requests about social media. We get some about surveying. We get some about mailing, like MailChimp. And we get, again, a lot about Google. So we try to direct our, our tech tools for that sort of information. We sometimes will have a webinar regarding that topic, but a lot of the webinars are directed at more AUW specific things, but sometimes there are some technical ones mixed in there as well. So that's a quick summary of the two major ones that I wanted to touch on. And obviously branch tools. I wanted to go over real quickly branch finance. We recently did an upgrade to the branch finance area. Whether or not you're part of that functionality, it's interesting as tech people to see a new way of posting things on our website. And maybe if you're doing any website work, you can look into that, or you can ask Sandy Gabe how this was done. See these boxes here? It's another way to present the information that we've done in a traditional fashion, a different way. And I'll show you the other way as a comparison in a second. So that when you're new treasurer, how to be a branch treasurer, you come here, or you tell your treasurer that in your branch to come here. Here's understanding branch financial basics. Okay, there's that, but let me see what else there is. So there's drop downs. So you can go to the basics and say, well, I know enough about the basics. What are the basics? I know enough about that. Board financial treasurer responsibilities. There's links to those documents. There's a webinar. It's posted here. Watch the webinar, download the presentation. There's a Q&A. So if you're a new branch treasurer, or someone in your branch takes on that role, point them to this section because there's a wealth of information here, a how-to guide, how to do branch accounting, same thing. So I kind of like this presentation. I don't know how you feel about it, but I really like the drop downs and I like the organization of the material. So that I wanted to point that out. How to account for membership dues. And government documents and deadlines. This is an area that I always referred to when I was treasurer of my branch. And I didn't really, not the webinar because it wasn't created yet, but I used this a lot. So click here to view the following government documents and deadlines, because Raleigh has it, our CFO has it all lined out. Like, for example, we'll go there because this is really handy. Overview of annual filings. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. This is the one I'm looking for, the checklist. Okay, so if you can download the checklist or an Excel checklist, but there is all these plus signs next to these forms. They're all in order for one. So this is starting October 15th. This is how to do it. And any links that you need to do it are going to be in here. So this is telling you to go to the community hub to get what you need. Because really with a IRS Form 990 National, if you do it in time, National will actually file for you. And if you file yourself, this is how you do it. And this is the link to actually do it. And this is the one tells you. So it's really all the information you need is here and it's all in order. So I really use that every year because you do it once a year and you forget from year to year. So if anybody in your branch is, doing finance for the first time, doing treasurer job for the first time, this is a good place to point them. So it was branch tools, branch finance. And from there, they should be able to get where they need to go. So all that information is out here. The old way, what I'm calling the old way is, let me see if I can find probably the old page. That's not a good one to use. Let's see. Okay, this is more the old way we were doing it. Most of the pages are like this still. The only one I think that's like the finance page is the finance page right now. But not that the information isn't there, it's just not as fancy and organized the same way. But a lot of links, a lot of information on what to do under that topic, like fundraising guidelines. We have to worry about accounting information, a donation. How do you do the donations for fund, Tech Trek? And if you have other SPF questions with branch projects, this is where you ask them. If you need to donate for Tech Trek, you have to do it using, if you have a question for Tech Trek, this is where you go. But Tech Trek actually has specific documents that you need to use to get do your donations. Again, this is another one of the old, I shouldn't say old, majority of the pages are on the website. They're actually posts of articles. So they're accumulation of posts. So Tech Trek announces a new logo is the most recent one because we've just redesigned the logo. GovTrek is the next most recent, and that's a new program this year. And you could read more about it here. And there's I think a presentation under this one and how to register and so on. And then we go down to others, and it's kind of in chronological order, back newest to oldest. So I like this other format better. You may like the new one, but I really like the finance one. The one we saw here. Just seems to be clearer to me. You're not wading through a bunch of stuff. Let me see what else. Forms and documents. It's another common place that everybody needs to go at some point or another. It's all in alphabetical order. Here's the fund template. If you want to recognize some donors, board to board, here's how to submit board articles. That's what you need when you're a board member, and the form to do it. There's some stuff on here that's, if you want to track your membership participation, there's a way to do that we've already designed if you want to use that. If you want to create a resolution, which was done recently by Thousand Oaks branch. Social media guidelines, I looked at that today. It's interesting to read through that. And this is what they've come up with at one point. Let me bring it up. Maybe it's going to give you an idea what it is. Brought up its PDF. And so it's AEW Communication Committee came up with social media guidelines to follow. Again, they're guidelines. That's not required, but it gives you a lot of basic information. If you're thinking about using social media, you might want to go here first. And SpeechTrek and so on. So When it talks about leadership team, by the way, that's those of us who are on the board plus an additional group of people who have been chosen or decided to apply for a leadership position. They don't have a board vote, but they're actually involved in the board meetings because we decided that was a good practice and to be part of all that action, and they can take that back to their, they can run committees and so forth, and they can bring it back to their actual branches as well. Let me see if there's something I missed. Membership resources, that's another one that's programs and projects. If you want to know more about TechTrek is a big one. GovTrek is new. If you want to know about a project of any kind, go there. Let's look at what GovTrek looks like right now. It's under construction a lot because it's brand new. Notice some of the articles here are the same as what we found somewhere else. That's one good thing about the way this we're using WordPress, and that's the way, the functionality we chose to use way back when. So you can post the article in a number of pages. So let's see, the calendar we talked about. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit over this and then I'll open it up for questions. Home obviously is the home. And this again, the bigger font or point size is more for external use. So when you point somebody to our website, you might mention, you know, when it says projects here, it's called something different up here. So when you say, okay, go to aew-ca.org and go click on projects, and then pick TechTrek, for example. And I can't show that. My screen is not showing the whole thing here, but it has others donations about TechTrek testimonials. But if you just click on TechTrek, you got a different way of presenting information. I'm trying to make it more user-friendly and more up-to-date kind of look than our other pages, because this is outward facing. So we try to make it more timely and, you know, do you want to know when camps are scheduled? You know, what is TechTrek? My kid wants to go to it. So, you know, I want to find out more about it. That's the old logo. So about, and here's some verbiage on it. You can read more if you like. But again, this is all for external use, internal and external, I should say, not just external. Public policy, let's see what that one looks like. These are our public policy priorities through this year. If you want to know more detail, you go there. There's a postcard that actually looks like this that you can print. And what we do. So if you've got somebody who's interested in public policy, I would send them here. A way to contact us. This is the office, this is the administrator, which is Julika. And again, web team at aew-ca.org. You have an article to post, a calendar event, or even just a question. I would send it to this address. And then it'll get it to the right person if it's not the person looking at it at the time. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for some questions to see what you guys are thinking. If I haven't covered something you're wanting to know. I can't see your raised hands, so if you can speak up, that would be good.
I have a question, Mary Sheridan.
Okay.
Some of those photos that you just showed under projects that were TechTrek ones, would we be able to use those for some advertising with TechTrek and stuff? Are they like wide usage photos? Or
good question. Let me look. The one under here when I went there.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's always an issue regarding photos, first of all.
Right. That's, yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
Like this one on the right with all the girls working on, yeah.
I'm gonna go take that back to Sandy Gabe, who is the webmaster, and see where she's at on these, because
Well,
we haven't posted. Yeah, and Mary.
I mean, and maybe like the one on the left is also shows action, but you can't see the faces as much. So,
Right.
so that,
I know
that
there's
one
a-
might work.
Yeah, I know there's a whole thing about that, and I don't want to misstep because there's a lot of discussion around that all the time. So I want to make sure I get the right answer to you.
Well, if we are able to use it, I'd like to know, and then if somebody could send it to me, or how can I
I can get them.
can we, because we can't, I assume that all of these things are locked on the web page. We can't download them off the web.
That would be correct, yes.
Okay.
Actually, let's see.
Uh-oh. Can you?
Maybe you can. Let's see. Save image.
Wow.
Yeah,
That might be something you might want to reconsider if you're concerned about the use of,
yeah, let me
Girl
find out the
spaces.
answer to that question first. Because usually Sandy's very good about this, so she might already have an answer ready and available that these have been approved for, or whatever, been blessed. I'm not sure.
okay.
So.
All right.
good
So
questions.
if you get back to me
Yes.
on that. Mhm.
I will. Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
I don't want to hog it. Does anybody else have one? No?
Okay,
Right.
I will.
If, on one of them, you were mentioning, the pros and cons of like Facebook and Twitter and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, there's the whole privacy issues and the tracking issues and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Are you addressing that or anything in these things? I mean,
There's a little bit of this. I remember because I was part of this webinar that there's a little bit, it was addressed here by someone who is close to Instagram, but that's just Instagram.
Right.
Let me see. This is January of 2020.
well,
I
I think
would-
I think it was the one that was generic where you listed what they all are and you had the pros and the cons. I mean,
Okay. Yeah,
it's,
see.
it, maybe it's an old document, but I think it maybe
Mhm.
needs to be updated a little bit in the sense of, that's like a branch Facebook page. Do they, what does then Facebook have access to and all of that stuff by using that and all? So you know what, when I go through to look, if I see something that I think is out of date, I'll
Yeah,
just
I'm
email
trying to
you.
remember
or-
where that was. Do you remember where it was? Let me just search for it. See what I come up with. I'm gonna do
It
Facebook.
was under the tech tools. It was up in it wasn't in the public page. It was in the branch top page. Under branch tools, tech tools, is that it? Or under California Business Tech Tools?
Tools.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's
I
where you
remember,
are.
I know which one,
That's it.
no, not this one.
No, it
um,
had a list of them all and it had pros and cons.
Yeah, I think we went there from here.
Okay.
Not this one.
Maybe Google Tools and more.
You might be right. That's the one that did have the pros and cons.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
that's Google. And then if we
Yeah.
go here, social media.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's very high level.
it's definitely, I mean, and I understand how, useful it is, but the pros kind of, I'm not sure that the cons are, there are more cons in Twitter the way it's gotten now with everybody
Yes.
being allowed on it,
You're right.
So
Yeah,
that might be
and that's
something
something that
that,
needs to be addressed again. I think you're right.
yeah. Mhm.
Pros and cons, and it's a little weak. It doesn't have a whole lot of content here.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's just now creating. I want to see what that has because I know it goes into step by step. It might even be the video. Let me see what it is. But yeah, that's an area that's changing a lot all the time. And
Yeah, and this, I think you said that's been up there for a while, so it might
Yeah.
have been done before everything got so toxic and worrisome.
Yeah, I think it's there, you're right, and there's always been security issues with this. That's
Yes.
one of the main questions we get when a branch says, hey, we should have a Twitter account or a Facebook account. Well, there is a feeling that it's not safe, that it's not secure enough, and how do I make it secure?
Right.
So I'll bring that back to Sandy as well.
Okay.
Because it's probably been a while
Mhm.
for that. Yeah, there's the basic how-tos, but there's also, I'm not going to go into how-tos if I'm not really comfortable doing it. And we
Right.
need to probably address that if we can.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we have other resources now. We have a whole social media committee. And I'm sure there are people on that committee that can address those issues, at least what they are right now,
Mhm.
and get something out there, because that's a good point. Thank you.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, and I'm looking at the question. Somebody had the same question I did about the images, reuse the images.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
That's a question that comes up a lot. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it'd be a good idea.
Mhm.
So Toby, I think you raised your hand.
Yes. Are there plans to update the videos or in some way of the leadership positions? Like Kathleen Doty has the video's been up for a long time on how to be secretary.
Hmm.
You know what page I'm talking about? It's
Let me think where that was.
I had members that really had problems even getting to, I guess this is from the branch tools. And it's the page that has strategic planning, lots of training stuff that's really good.
Is it leadership resources or forms and documents?
It's not form and documents.
Leadership resources, maybe. Let me see.
That one. Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I wonder if there's someone who has really looked at this whole page and to see what is really still.
Look,
Mhm.
2019.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I see a lot of things on there on the website, but you're also saying that when we see something, to just shoot an email off to the communications team,
Absolutely. Web team at
web
aawca.org.
team.
Yeah, because every year, just so that you guys know, when we meet as a board, there are all the different categories, or what do you call it? Not categories, positions that board members hold, and membership, public policy, etc. And every year they're asked to go look at their page or pages and make any updates or submit any updates they need for their pages. But things like this, which is general, doesn't always get noticed and doesn't always get handled. So even though we do our best to try to cover
Mhm.
everything, it doesn't. So that's exactly what I would want to have is, hey, looks like some of this stuff is out of date on the leadership resources page. Give the link if you want, and just mention it, because
But
that
are
way it's
you
gonna get
wanting
some
me
visibility.
to send? Are you wanting me to send an email, or is this good enough that I?
This is good enough for now. I mean, if you notice this on your own, then send the email. But for now, I've got it on my list. I'm gonna let
Including
Sandy know.
going all the way down to the bottom,
Mhm.
and that's where.
Oh, the
like,
job training? Yeah.
Yeah, job training.
Yeah, I saw these earlier. I didn't look at them specifically, but you're right. These things change over time. And this is, like you said, it was back when Kathleen was president, I think, huh?
Problem.
2019, yeah. Yeah, and then this will give you the date of when it's last been updated, so. Or at least when it's last, the posting has changed. It may not be that any, all of these are changed. So yeah, this is a living website, just like anything is. Any website is this way. And that's the struggle with websites, is trying to keep everything up to date. So by you pointing it out to us, it isn't a nag thing. It's more of a, nudge, because, if you're seeing it, that means other people are seeing it, and maybe getting confused. So yes, it may not get done immediately. There may be some time lag there, but it can get more on the radar that way. So
So
yeah, I appreciate that.
additionally, that Do I recall right or wrong about doing websites as one of the trainings that's going to happen?
Yeah, you're right.
WordPress is interesting.
Yeah, I know. Not the easiest to work with. I really personally would need somebody to either know somebody to step up to talk about different options.
Could you get the national person? who
tried-
does-
We tried to
does
get National
WordPress?
to actually do the site resources, and they wouldn't offer to come and do a webinar for us or do a session with us.
Who was the last
So-
person?
What's that?
Who was the last person at National you're talking about?
I didn't reach out to them. Somebody else did who's on vacation right now. She's not on the
Okay.
call, so I'm not sure who the person was. But, you know, that doesn't mean we're gonna not ask, but I think we need to, I think the one with the website building, there's a lot to that. And I think the first, unless you guys disagree, the first step is what are our options? You know, what makes sense? If you're not gonna go with site resources, which I think was where we should start, which is
Yes.
next month.
Yes. Mhm.
Say, okay, if that's going to solve my needs, then great. You know, I don't need to look any further. There are two options with that, and we're going to go over both. One is the one where you do some of the work yourself, and the other one, they do all of it. And you just give them information or content. But if you want to build your own website, there's a lot to that. And then WordPress is one option. You know, we happen to have a lot of requirements for this website. You know, we've taken on that years ago and use it as our main one of our main avenues of communicating information. So with your branch, it may be much more simple than this. And you may be able to use a different tool to build your website. I would need somebody who's more up to date on that information. And I'm going to bring that up with the communications team as well. And you all be thinking, if you know anybody that has any kind of recent experience with that, or might have some guidance there, that just send them my way. Send them to the.
Maybe Randa?
Well,
But
Randa
has we've talked about it because I'm been a web manager for several years and I fight
Mhm.
at times with WordPress.
Yeah, Randa, I know her very well. I don't think she's developed a website from scratch, unless I'm mistaken. But it would be someone who has done an evaluation or knows of an evaluation that they understand of different tools out there to use. If you're not going to use, in other words, if you're not going to use WordPress, you don't want to tackle that. What's an easier tool to use? You don't need all the bells and whistles of WordPress. What do you use? You know, that's what I would like to see if I were going to consider creating my own website. It's a pretty big endeavor. For those of you who have done it, know that. And I would like people to see the site resources option first, to know that it's there. And they can even create their own website in the background, and until it's ready, they could have site resources, for example, you know, as one option. But just, it takes away a lot of the details that you need to know in order to create your own site.
So if I just might add that I'm not talking about starting from scratch from WordPress, but certainly there might be people who would be doing that. It's really managing it.
Maintenance, yeah.
And I understand that National has been talking for several years about it's going to change.
Mhm.
Just, I guess, in terms of the colors and accessibility and stuff, it hasn't happened yet. I'd like
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah, and they are, as you know, they're struggling with their own website and their community hub. So I wasn't gonna laugh, but no, I mean,
We are.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. No, it's not easy, and I think that's why we're probably not going to get much of a response from anybody from National, because they're underwater on their own. And having their own challenges. So I'm going to see what I can find on that, because that would be useful to have done. You're right, not necessarily to start from scratch, because that's a big endeavor, But even to maintain, I don't know how to do unless we have open sessions that just talk about challenges that we personally have had with maintaining something, then what we learned, and said, oh, this is how I would do it. If I'm in WordPress, I was given I became webmaster and I had to learn this. And this is how the one little piece that I learned, how to post an article or whatever, because there's so many different ways you can use WordPress and different versions. It's kind of tough to
You might
present
think
it.
about having one of these kind of groups for people who are using WordPress.
Yeah, like an
Just like you have it for various offices
Yeah.
and committees. What works, what doesn't work, and what could help.
Okay. On this call, how many of you, maybe, let me stop sharing. Those of you on the call, can you raise your hands because I can see all of you. How many of you actually maintain your website, first of all? Okay, I see 1, 2, 3. It's all moving. It's not moving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, about 5 of you, 6 of you maybe, are maintaining your website. Now, of those that say that, how many are using WordPress? Most of you, some of you.
Can
Those
I
of you,
ask a question? Is WordPress the one that we get from AUW?
no, well, it's actually, I'm not sure if Site Resources is WordPress. I think so. But
Yes, yes.
But yeah, if you're
Yes.
actually updating or doing updates to the website yourself, and you're using a tool called WordPress, then that's kind of what I was asking. If you're maintaining a website using WordPress yourself.
Yeah. I don't actually do this. Our member is not here, but our
Okay.
branch maintains our website.
Okay, so it looks like you have 4. So majority of you, not everybody. So those of you that are not using WordPress, what are you using? Or do you know?
Site resources.
Okay, other than Site Resources or WordPress, what other tool are you using to maintain your website if you're maintaining your website? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. So I'm not even sure what it would be. Because I'm not familiar with all the different tools out there now. And yeah, again, I see that comment. You don't know what your webmaster uses. I agree. And this is just a small group of people. So, but that's really what I would like. I like that idea of having a WordPress forum, if you will.
I am so in need of some help with WordPress.
Yeah, you know what? I was in IT for 30 years. And I said, sure, I'll help you with the website, not a problem. I went into WordPress, this was years ago, into our site, and I thought, oh my God, it's not intuitive at all. I couldn't figure out where to begin. I would look and see how this thing did it, and how am I going to do that with this? And it was not an easy thing. So I imagine,
and you have to have super editor privileges to be using the menus and make menus and drop downs and stuff.
of course, yeah.
Yeah, but even training on how to use all those editing tools would be very helpful. I'm having a terrible time with font sizing. If I try and change one single line, it changes the whole paragraph. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, I think there needs to be sessions like this, because it's a matter of you going in there and saying, okay, I'm trying to change the font size here. What am I doing wrong? And somebody here can say, well, I know how to do that, and that kind of thing. Rather than having training sessions, I think a forum is more, I don't know what you guys think, but I would consider a forum where you can come there with your questions. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of talking about to begin with, that we might be able to help ourselves. And part of it is going from visual, I think, to what they call text or something else. And if you toggle between the two, you can get the fonts changed and other things.
Yeah, and you can actually get down to the HTML if you want to
Yeah,
go
that's what
there.
I'm talking, yeah.
Yeah,
The
And-
visual and the HTML, if you use the HTML, but it's not intuitive.
no, and you have to know HTML. There's a whole class. on that.
Exactly. If you don't have
do
that
it that way.
training,
But
No,
the
no,
visual one, the one she's calling visual, which is the display version or whatever, there's two different versions from what I remember. It's been a while, where you should be able to type it and select what font you want. That should translate into the HTML. But if you're having trouble doing that, and it sounds like you are, or changing a point size, maybe someone on the call will be able to say, this is what you should do instead, or what you're doing wrong is this, or maybe the best approach is to just retype that area, or I don't know. But to get the actual problem that you're having, get some feedback from others that have been there. I think that's what I'll do is I'll compose an email to everyone that's in this group. And feel free to share it with, not just this group here, but the whole tech peer group. And try and start a WordPress forum and see if we can get anywhere with that. And if there's enough knowledge. And if I can get Sandy, Gabe to participate, then you'll get a lot of information from her because she's been doing our website for a number of years. So I'm going to start with her as well and see if she'll be able to participate in something like that. She's super busy this year, always. But yeah, she'd be a wealth of knowledge on what's worked for her. So I'll see if she's available at all to do something like that. More than happy to coordinate it and be present and learn myself.
I have
Great
a
idea.
different, an additional topic
Okay.
that when you register for a webinar,
Mhm,
you put down your position.
mhm.
Well, what if the person is not the chair of a particular committee, but is very active in the committee? And it looks like in the way that things are set, that only if you're the chair at the very top, like what do you do?
Mhm.
So I don't know if they would consider the people who are working in those particular areas in the branch but are not the chair. It's also whether about checking something or an additional category like committee positions.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's used mainly to see what are the people that are attending this type of webinar. So I don't think it's, super strict. But again, I'll check to see, and maybe we need a different bucket or two, a different checkbox to say specializing or working in this area or, whatever, instead of actual, I'm not this position, but I dabble in this. Okay, I'll take that suggestion and see what we can come up with on that.
Something that I'd like to see is how to use hashtags.
Okay.
I'm from the generation that I had to ask someone what the heck they were because I kept seeing them and I was like, are these things? What do they do? And I'd like to understand them and know if I should be using them and things that I'm posting and that kind of thing.
Yeah, in fact, if I can find it real quick, this one talked about hashtags.
Ah,
So check it out. If I'm wrong, then get back to me. But I
Okay.
believe this webinar talked about it and talked about what it was and how it relates to things and why you would use them. Trick is, like you're just bringing up, where to find what you're looking for. You want to know just about hashtags. How do I find that? We don't have a way to search within a webinar, within a video. So it's kind of hard to, other than a form like this, which I think we should continue doing for a number of reasons. But that's the way to find out where information already is, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes it's already out there, but we can't find it. It's good to bring it up in a session like this. So check that out. Let me know if you don't find what you're looking for.
okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, that was Sharon Lawrence. Okay. We've reached the top of the hour at 7:03. I'm I can stay if you need. Anytime you want to reach me, you know my email, or you can, well, best way probably, I think I have an email related to this peer group, but I don't know it off the top of my head right now. But yeah, you can reach me. I can put my email address in the chat real quick. In case you don't have it. It's not. And feel free to email me at any time. Always looking for ideas, always looking for topics. Again, next month will be hopefully on, I don't anticipate a problem, but hopefully on site resources. So you don't want to miss that one. Hopefully we'll learn the difference, what the cost is, and you can either decide that that's what you're doing and that's the way you want to keep it, or you can say, oh, that's what I'm doing. And this is how it's supposed to work. Or you can bring that back to your web. And if your webmaster wants to join us, then feel free, share the link and they can join. Or actually, it's probably best if you let me know, or let me know so I can get them added in so that they'll actually get their own link. Okay, and I think, let's see, I've got let me look in the chat real quick. And okay, cool. So yeah, I'll leave it open for a little bit so you can type in any kind of comments, questions, any future sessions. Otherwise, you guys have a happy new year still. And I will see you in a month, and I will get something out to you regarding some of the questions here. Thank you for joining, and I'm turning off the recording now.